Beverly. I'd like to welcome everyone to today's board workshop. I'd like to thank all our stakeholders, our staff, our board members, and our CEO, Ms. Cutter, and our presenters for joining us today. At this time, I'd like to take a roll call, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Director Snowden. Present. Thank you, Director Odell. Director Odell. Not present, Director Stone. Not present, Director Lockett. Not present, Director Adams.
Here.
Thank you, Director Robinson.
Present.
Thank you, Director Leggett. Not present, Director Taylor.
Present.
And Chairman Cody.
Present.
Chairman Rowe has been called. Thank you.
First, we'd like to have the introduction from Mr. Mark Gladhill, our IT Innovation Manager.
Okay, Mr. Chair, prior to Mr. Gladhill coming forward, I would just like to make a few remarks. Before that, there are decisions regarding its intelligent transportation system that CAT has been looking at for many years, that began prior to FY21. The reason being is because there has been concerns regarding software that we use interfacing with other softwares. And because of the investment that comes with building a good IT system, it is very important that the board clearly understands the recommendations that will be coming forward. The workshop setup is an opportunity for our vendors to come before you to answer questions relevant to the services that they provide for CAT, and then for our staff to bring forward recommendations as it relates to addressing some of the issues with the current system. I would like for the board to be very open about your questions to ensure that whatever is coming forward, you clearly understand when you take a vote on the action items that will be coming before you at the October board meeting. So with that, I'm going to ask Mr. Gladhill to come up and provide introductions into the presentations.
Mr. Chairman, if I may. I'm on hand for on here, but okay, they took it down. Disregard. We're good. Thank you.
Good afternoon, board. Thank you for having me today. I'm Mark Gladhill. I'm your IT Innovation Manager. We've had a lot of discussions around IT and technology improvements for our agency. I stand before you today to introduce our technology partner. But before doing so, I have a brief set of slides that I'll be speaking to. If I start speaking too fast, please let me know. we're gonna speak a little bit to the systems that we have today that are in need of upgrades. Most processes between our ITS system and any of our other silo systems, whether it be Trekkies or our passenger count, it's all a manual process to get those systems to talk together. So we are exporting data to then import it into the correct systems to be able to follow and track those things. That's problem one. We also have limited internet connections within our buildings that have not been upgraded in 5 or more years. No redundancy at all built into our system. Internal networks are spread across multiple switches and switch types. And our backup power in our network closets are in need of repair. Infinity is here today. They are our technology partners, our managed service provider. So their role is to keep anything and everything within our business working and communicating, from our computers to our switches, all of our network infrastructure, as well as integration into those external systems, Trekkies, etc. They will speak to you today about the deficiencies that we have and what we will do to, what we're proposing to do to move us into a position to better support our business with technology that is under warranty and not end of life. Some of the softwares that we'll be speaking to today are our fixed route scheduling, Trekkie, has not been upgraded since 2018. Old antiquated system, very hard to work within, not new technology type where you can move and drag and drop and integrate things that will tell you when you make a change, what other changes that affects. Today, that doesn't happen in Trekkie. The process that we're speaking to with Clever, that will be a systematic change in a sandbox where you will tell. I made this change, it affects not just that route, but any other route. And it'll show you what pieces need to all be looked at together. Our CAD AVL, which is Clever Devices, this board in 2021 spent $2.5 million. We're now going to leverage that base system with additional modules. Route Map software, we all know. Again, another piece of old antiquated technology, last updated in 2019. We use Munis for all administrative support services within the business, whether it's ERP, finance, payroll, and we use Verkada for all of our camera systems internal to our building and our future access control. With that, I will hand it over to Ashley Prudline from Infinity for their presentation.
Thank you, Mark. And thank you, Tab Board, for speaking with us and allowing us to present to you all today. Joining me is Chuck Brown, who is the CEO of Infinity. Alongside him is David Brown, who is the Chief Operations Officer of Infinity, and I'm here as the dedicated client success manager who works directly with Mark in collaboration to continue to innovate and strategize for improving CAT's infrastructure and technological environment.
Yeah, thank you for having us today. I want to reiterate what the director said. This is an open conversation. We've got a lot of resources so we can answer anything that comes up. Any questions you guys have, you don't have to waste a minute. We don't really have an agenda. We have some slides to go through to help you understand. When it's most important is your question answered, whatever those questions are, help you today. At the end of the day, this is a partnership. We work alongside Mark We help you guys with strategy. As I said, we have unlimited comprehensive managed IT support to manage your network security, your business continuity, disaster recovery, and your emergency support. Pretty much all things IT in fact, one way to go.
And we do have somewhat of agenda today. First thing we're going to discuss is the current security stack, just to discuss some tools that we have worked with Mark and with your entire team to implement to improve security across your entire organization. Look at some potential risks with recommendations that we have to remediate those risks, a proposed project timeline, and then a discussion overall of next steps as far as where we can continue to move you all forward. Now, as far as your current security stack, again, we've been partners with you guys for a long time, so we've been steadily adding additional tools over the years as they become available, additional security threats have been identified, and we continue to offer and enforce all these different ways of protecting your organization and your team. So some of the key elements we have in place, we have multi-factor authentication for both your Microsoft accounts as well as your Active Directory. Enterprise level antivirus, we have managed detection and response and endpoint detection and response in place. Phishing email training to help your users learn to identify common phishing scams that are used by cyber criminals across the world. We encrypt your devices to prevent access. If a device is stolen or compromised, it protects the data that's on that device, as well as email spam filtering and blocking and internet filtering and blocking. Just your basic standard business enterprise level security tools to help protect your organization and your end users.
Recommendations and potential risks. So we're gonna walk through, working with Mark. We've taken a look at your infrastructure. There are some places that we think that, that we can improve. There are some places that you really do need to improve so that we can move you a little bit forward. Internet provider and equipment changes. Some of these, let's just walk through it. Currently, you've got AT&T for phones and internet. The speeds are not adequate for what you need. What we're proposing instead is to replace the AT&T fiber with fiber provided by Famitsu to both sites, to both the ITC and to this location. And to a direct fiber to provide redundancy for your internet connections.
What's the mixing?
Famitsu, that's a great question. We can prices from the others as well. We've got prices from, there are 3 companies. Well, this is fair. There's AT&T, Hargray, Famitsu, and the new fiber that can put fiber in the ground at different locations. They're licensed for it. We got bids from all of them.
But why would you not switch to maybe a Comcast that could provide the internet and phone, and you could group the pricing to do fiber?
That's a good question. The Famitsu fiber is actually less expensive. The Comcast phones we'll address those in a few minutes. Grouping the, you keep pricing the fiber?
Yes.
I'll do that, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Not good for you, but regardless, the price is still considerably less expensive.
Mhm.
And Comcast phones are not what you have to do, especially when you talk about the cost. The phones are, they're more sophisticated than Comcast.
So you're gonna switch over to VoIP?
Yeah, that's part of the project. That's another part of the project program.
So Famitsu's fiber is gonna cost $2,600 a month?
Yes, ma'am. 2,060 a month.
And-
For both locations, fiber and a connection to the internet. You're currently paying 6,800 a month to AT&T for the same functionality.
And that's not a T1 line?
No, ma'am, that's fine. It's actually much faster connectivity between the sites, much faster connectivity to the internet for direct devices.
And it gives us connectivity between the sites when you are fiber, but we don't have to.
The other thing that we will do with this project cost is 16,000. What we're also doing is putting in redundant firewalls. Firewall device is a piece of equipment that goes in a building that the internet comes into and terminates into. With that, it's a piece of device that's got.
Like a sonic wall.
Yeah, it's a sonic wall is a type of firewall. That's exactly right. But we'll put redundant ones in, so if one of them fails, the site does go dark, it flips over to the secondary device. Any other questions? Great questions, by the way. Any other questions on that? Also, both, this site and the IPC site have, were built. We are switching in all of the racks that was original to when the racks went in, which is pretty old for IT equipment. Most of the switching is either no longer under support, is period no longer under support, and a lot of it we can't get under support. So as, switch is a switch is a device that network wires plug into. That switch runs software. The vendors update that software because the switches themselves can get not malware, but the bad actors and log into switches and take them over. They identify these things all the time. We update them constantly. When a switch goes into life, they no longer provide these types of security updates. So what we would like to do is replace, and you actually have a hodgepodge of switches that are, some that are 8 years old, some that are 5 years old, perhaps not even the same brand. What we would like to do is replace them all with newer switches that support voice over IP telephony, so that they can power the phones as well. All of these sort of go together to get you in the move you forward and work together so to build a better.
So are you also upgrading the server? No,
Which server was that?
any of them? Cause I don't remember, upgrading any of our servers in the last 5 years. So,
Mark?
I believe it was 2 or 3 years ago, Director O'Neill, that they upgraded all of the hosts, which is what is the virtual environment where all of our servers run.
so we don't have any LAN servers, they're
There
all,
are 2 physical servers that power the 10 or 15 virtual servers inside of there.
and how old are those?
The business replaced those in the last 2 to 3 years.
Yeah,
Before I got here, but
The virtual servers.
Most of the virtual servers, the physical servers are a couple of years old, still under warranty. The virtual servers, we've been, just finished a project late last year, I think. We replaced all of the older 2008, 2012 servers, so that all of the versions of Windows that you're currently running are current and they're updated. You don't have any older servers that are no longer in the, that are still in the cloud.
So just the switches need to be replaced. And what vendor are you looking at to place those?
Aruba, HCI, Aruba.
Mhm.
Did you have a question? On the record. Questions on that? At all? Along with, again, over time, the network closets have become disorganized with cables everywhere. Part of the project will be basically to rip everything out, put in cable management, nice, clean, so that it's easier to diagnose when there's a problem or have something.
When we currently log in from outside, are we going through a VPN? Or how are we logging in? If somebody's at home logging into the server? VPN.
Yep. Right. Okay, that was the main site. We plan to basically the same lift at the IPC is a much smaller place, obviously, so it's a lot cheaper while it's equipment to replace. Questions on that?
How long would it take to put it in?
Months. We have a timeline at the end. When we do major projects like this, we try to step through them lightly so that we can do one piece and settle any issues that might come up and then do another piece like the network closets. Here, we would probably do over a couple of weekends to try to limit so that we're not shutting people down during the day when they're trying to work. And the other beauty of that, when IT background, change something small, fix whatever issues come up and then change something else small instead of just trying to do the whole thing at once and break everybody's license.
So you're looking at 6 to 9 months?
I don't think 6 to 9 months, I think probably 8 months. Plus. Now, there are other projects in here, Bones, for instance, which will take a minute. A lot of which is dependent on, us working out configuration of that. Sometimes that takes longer than actual.
Have you chosen a BOI's provider?
Yes.
Who do you choose?
Yeah, we know.
Which is a great segue.
Actually, that was perfect time.
So we're recommending a new phone was whenever we had a scare when the equipment died recently, a problem with that. The equipment is no longer supported, there is like zero support for it, there is no one who can find it, will service it, will supply parts for it. Call center is outdated, incompatible with growth, it doesn't include a lot of new features that call centers include. There's a lot of reporting, statistics, and monitoring capabilities that you have to know how your team is doing, the new system will provide. We're proposing a system that we will manage, hosted phone system, it's UIP and hosted, so it's not here, the equipment here, it's at the phones. Has all the latest features that you would want if people need to use headsets only and no handset, they can do that with mobile apps with mobile phones as well. Implement a managed and intelligent call center so that again, we can bring together the current technology. Currently, you're paying AT&T $5,300 a month plus Talkdesk, you're paying $1,000 a month plus $20,000 a year basically. So basically $12,000 a month on average. The Duke's cost, we're not sure yet because we don't have all the details of exactly how the call center would be configured. There's a lot of options for that. Like you don't need, but quite a few probably will want to implement any of the capabilities you don't have today. Questions on that? Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
what would be your estimated, like if we go with this proposal, what is the estimated time that we would have to upgrade again?
Honestly, never. That is the beauty. What you have now is called a premise phone system. So you have boxes in the closet. Boxes are hardware, and eventually hardware wears out. In the case of what you have, the system was, the company that made it originally was acquired by another company, and they just dropped the line completely. So even if you kept the hardware today, the software doesn't work anymore, it doesn't get updated anymore. With a hosted system, you have software that runs in the cloud, and that vendor constantly upgrades. So you could have the same system 20 years from now. It would have new features because they keep upgrading it all the time, just like using, I'm trying to think of Google online. You don't ever replace Google, they just keep adding new features. So hosted phone system works kind of the same way. So there's never a time horizon when you replace it. Now, phones might break and you might replace handsets. Or you might go away from handsets, but the system itself, you would just be rolling.
Right.
The next item that we're proposing is replacing aging workstations. So as many of you might be aware, Windows operating systems tend to go end of life. Microsoft wants everyone to move to the newest versions. We saw it happen with Windows XP, with Windows 7, and now it's coming up with Windows. Luckily, we have some time. We have until October of 2025 to start considering those replacements, but we'd like to be forward thinking with you all, especially as you're planning for budgeting for larger projects like the ones we've discussed today. That way, when that time does come, you're not scrambling at the last minute trying to make sure that all your operating systems are going to be supported. So currently, you only have 14 computers that don't meet the requirements to be upgraded to Windows 11, which means only 14 need to be budgeted for replacement before October of next year. There are several that are eligible to be upgraded, 83, which I know Mark has been diligently working with our team to phase over time, getting those older machines replaced. And we're essentially going to be proposing an upgrade project for those machines that are eligible. We're currently looking at an estimated cost of $44 per computer for the upgrades, barring any issues that might arise, at which point it would be billed at an hourly rate. But the goal would be to upgrade those that are eligible well in advance, replace those that are not, and make sure that everyone is in a good place with supported operating systems by October of next year.
We have provide email for all users. Cash requested email access for all employees. The ones that don't have computers, don't come into the office. You can use a lower-end Microsoft license. To do that, it was appropriate. I think there are 182 of those employees. So what we're proposing is to get the appropriate licensing for those employees, provide instructions, walk them through it, and then provide them. As it goes forward. The cost for that is $34.70 per user per month. So for 182 users, it's $63.50.
Now, this is a new part of what is being proposed, primarily running into ensuring that all employees have access to memos and emails that are distributed to all employees and not relying upon word of mouth from one individual or two individuals. The employee has an opportunity to receive the information themselves. So this is a new component. We ran into communication issues thinking all employees were getting the correspondence. Once I thought that when I send an all employee email or an all employee memo, all employees were actually receiving the information. By asking questions, I realized that no, we copy someone to ask them to get it to all employees, but it's nothing like getting the document and reading yourself. So this was recently added this week to enhance our communication efforts between management and employees.
So is the 3470 the basic Office 365? Or is that just Outlook?
This is Microsoft Exchange, just going to change mailbox, but
That's what the county uses.
yeah, if we go back a few pages to the stack that we have in place. There's a product, there's a managed detection and response product that we have on all of the mailboxes. That adds to the cost, and there's also a backup that adds to the cost, as well as support for the users that are having.
So are you using Azure or something else with the Exchange?
It's Microsoft, it's Microsoft 365, and it's one of those Exchange packages.
Okay.
Timeline. This was talked about a little bit earlier. It will take Smitsu or whoever. We have quotes from all of them. They take between 9 days to build out. We would install all the new internet equipment. The implementation of licensing for all email users would go pretty quick. Some of these are really fast, some of them not so much. The email one would be really fast. Second phase, we would replace network equipment at the ITC and Gwinnett once we have all the firewalls and all that other equipment in place. And then we would work on the phone system. Then have to cancel AT&T and all that stuff.
So are you responsible for the backup and disaster planning equipment? And how does that fit into the process? So what happens?
Backup and disaster for servers.
Yes, and the work and everything they have, like it shut, like ransomware or it shuts down or virus or.
There's a device in your rack upstairs. The servers are backed up twice a day to back up images to that device. That device sends those images off-site to an off-site data center that in order for that data to be touched, we have to call the data center to get it touched. So it can't be open.
Okay.
So that in a nutshell is how we safe. We're doing backup twice a day. Dispatch is going on site, to an immutable data center. So if, God help us, if something terrible happens, your servers melt, get malware,
You can hear it.
we call the data center, we get started. So that's exactly.
And from a business continuity perspective, after implemented today, if the internet to this building goes down, it goes down. Once this is implemented, there'll be a failover. So if the internet to this building goes down, the failover should go probably what it looks like. So we have redundancy built into the internet. Because you guys are becoming more work on the internet with your cloud applications, we have to.
And then I know we've already talked a lot amongst ourselves throughout the presentation, but does anyone have any additional questions, comments, or concerns about any of the items we discussed today? So as far as next steps, obviously, we went through the phases of the project timeline, but project approval would be, the next course of action to take for us to determine the scheduling of our resources, the procurement of the equipment from the distributors, executing the contract with Sumitsu so that they can begin their construction timeline, which will allow us to determine certain phases of our project implementation. And once those projects have taken place, we'll be able to finalize the phone system proposal in collaboration with Mark to identify the needs of the call center, the various end users, and make sure that we get you guys with a top of the line system that features. Thank you all for your time. We appreciate your partnership.
Thank you. Thank you.
So as we begin part two of the workshop and discuss clever devices and the new modules that will facilitate the changes to modernize our fixed route business, we're gonna look to break down silos and fix places where manual manipulation of data occur today. This will allow our infrastructure to run better. We'll collect data at a systematic role and trap keys and other and UTA, which are the two silos that exist today in our fixed route business, will then be able to communicate just by the click of a button. So the needs for our modules today, our planning and operations software was last updated in 2018. This is Trapeze. It is not user friendly, and we must manually manipulate data, import and export from that system to Clever, and then from that system to UTA to be able to facilitate our board changes and be able to count our passengers for the changes that happen in those board changes. So we're going to recommend that we acquire the software that will automatically transfer that data from Mayor, which is a new product, directly to CleverWorks, which is part of our CAD AVL system that exists today. That systematic movement of data will allow us to rely on the results of that data. It will also put us in a position where we have one system to dispatch and move our vehicles and our people as well. The second portion will be passenger counter and our vehicle locating. Today, currently, we're running a system that was purchased in 2019. 36 of 47 vehicles count by a reflector system. You walk through our doors, you break a bead, it counts. But if you're dragging a stroller, it counts your stroller. If you have a backpack hanging, it would do the same. We're requesting that we move to overhead counters that are infrared, that don't rely on light or anything else. The bus can be dark, it can still see you and count. The hardware for that, again, 2016, the software, we migrated to this vendor's software as a service account, because the physical device in our building broke last year. But again, we have to export data from TrackView to send to them to manually manipulate to get into their system and count appropriately. With that, I will allow Mark Jason from Clever Devices to begin his presentation.
Thank you, Mark. Can everybody hear me and see me? Great, awesome. I just asked if I could share my screen, and let's see here. Give me 1 second. Okay. Is everybody able to see my screen?
Those of us on Zoom cannot.
Cannot. Okay. Let's try this again. It says your screen share has only been seen by the host and co-host. Everyone can see your video.
I can see you.
Yes.
Okay, now, yes.
You can see it now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Mark Jason. There's an echo in the room as well. I'm not sure if we could do anything about that. But thank you, everybody. If you have any questions, please feel free to interrupt me as I go throughout today's presentation. The echo seemed to have gotten a little bit better there. And today, we will be presenting Clever Devices Intelligent Transportation System Upgrade, otherwise known as ITS. And I just want to first start off by saying thank you to Kat and thank you to the board for allowing us to present at today's workshop. And we apologize that we can't be there in person, so thank you for allowing us to present remotely. So today's agenda will consist of a brief introduction. We will go through who we are as a company. We will then discuss some examples of clients that have gone through similar procurements. And then we'll take a look at projects that Clever Devices has worked on with Cat over the last few years. And then we'll really get into the meat and potatoes of our proposal to Cat, which is our system architecture, followed by what the overall impact is and the benefits that apply to Cat. So again, my name is Mark Jason. I am a strategic account manager with Clever Devices. I've been with the company for 7 years now. The first 5 of those years were spent in product management, where I was given the ability to develop and really gain a good technical knowledge of how our products and solutions work. And then recently, as of 2 years ago, I transitioned into business development, where now my territory includes the Southeast region of the United States, and very happy to be managing Cat on behalf of Clever Devices on the account side now. And so with me today, I'm joined by my esteemed colleagues, Dan Damon and Mike Kuzmich. I will kick it over to Dan, who you can see here in the presentation, to introduce himself first.
Hi, everybody, and good afternoon. I'm Dan Damon. I am the Senior Strategic Account Manager for Mayor North America. Mayor is the Clever Devices scheduling and operations suite that we have. Over the past 8 years that I've been with Clever Devices, 6 of them, I've spent my time working solely with the Mayor product. Initially as a project and portfolio manager, moving on to being in charge of the deployment team here at Clever Devices for Mayor, and now recently moved into the business development team, supporting all of our business development team members with Mayor. So with that, I will hand over to Mike now.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mike Kuzmich. I am the Vice President of Strategic Business Development, work very closely with Mark and with Dan. Pleasure to be here with you today. Simply want to be here to answer any of the questions that I can help support Dan and Mark with and I welcome your interaction. Thank you for having us.
Dan and Mike. So Clever Devices, we are headquartered in Woodbury, New York, which is on Long Island. We have a few regional offices in Apex, North Carolina, and Richmond, Virginia, also up in Toronto in Canada. We have over 35 years of experience when it comes to public transit and public transit technology. We are also a privately owned company, and the reason I mention that is because we're not a publicly traded company, so we're not beholden to shareholders, if you will. Really, at the end of the day, what we care about most are meeting the needs of our clients. And public transportation is the only industry that we're in. It is all that we do. We are a medium-sized company, being between 500 to 600 employees, with over 60% of those employees dedicated to product development, making sure that we're staying up to date with the latest and greatest technologies, along with deployment and making sure that we're carrying out successful projects from beginning to end. We offer a broad range of different solutions in our portfolio that are multimodal, so everything ranging from bus to ferry to rail and paratransit. And we have over 250 customers across North America. And so I wanted to pull up this slide just to show some examples of clients that have gone through similar ITS upgrades, like CAT, and what we are proposing today. And you will notice that these clients here in Kitsap and Culver City, Red Deer up in Canada, Embark in Oklahoma, and Loudoun County in Virginia, they have all are around the same fleet size as CAT, being between that 50 to 100 vehicle range. Now, taking a look at the projects that have been deployed by Clever Devices with CAT over the last few years, back in 2021, we had the CAT AVL ITS retrofit, and I know that's a mouthful, but really what that stands for is Computer-Aided Dispatch Automatic Vehicle Location Intelligent Transportation System retrofit. And so that was awarded to us back in August of 2020 through a competitive RFP process. And as part of this project, we ended up delivering our base solution, being the onboard hardware and our back-end software solutions that we're hosting. Now, some products that you folks might be familiar with that we've provided as part of this project are real-time passenger information being displayed through wayside signage, and also CAT Tracker as well. Now, part of this project was an integration with the current scheduling and NTD vendors, NTD reporting vendors, that is, and NTD stands for National Transit Database. But we'll touch a little bit more on what that integration looks like in the system architecture slide, which I have next. Last year, we worked with the Southwest Research Institute on behalf of CAT for a traffic signal priority integration project that is still currently under deployment. And then just this year, CAT procured Clever Metrics, which is Clever Devices' real-time dashboard solution that allows everybody, such as Stephanie at the executive level, down to customer service representatives, operations, for example, to access real-time data to make informed decisions in real time, allowing CAT to be that much more proactive instead of reactive when it comes to their service that they are providing. And so really getting into our proposal, I provided here a system architecture diagram just to visually go through, what the existing architecture looks like. And I've incorporated some transitions in here as well. And so just to point out the legend at the bottom, everything here in gray is existing from another vendor at CAT. So the scheduling vendor and the NTD vendor. Everything in blue is provided by Clever Devices and existing or currently under deployment at CAT. And so those are all of the projects that I touched on previously. And then any modules that we are proposing adding in will display here as a red box as we go through this process. And so Mark had highlighted the inefficiencies with the current schedule, the transit schedule that comes from the scheduling solution. And so to touch on that and harp on it a little bit more, that process, basically what happens is the scheduling vendor will create that schedule, they will export it, and we will then import it through a manual process into our product called CleverWorks. CleverWorks will allow CAT to run through data, allows CAT to run through data integrity checks. And so some of those data integrity checks that we can't move any further with that schedule for the rest of our system to work would be, trips that are not assigned to blocks, for example, or a day that doesn't have any service. And so those are the types of examples where we would then go back to CAT and tell them that they need to speak with the vendor in order to get, those things fixed. And so it's a very iterative process that's very time intensive. And throughout this process, there's a lot of data manipulation that takes place, as it's not only a manual process for us, but also the NTD vendor as well. So what we are proposing from the scheduling side is our Mayor scheduling suite. So with Mayor, CAT will have the ability for scheduling, planning, operations, and workforce management. And really, we will automate this process that exists today. And through the click of a button, once that schedule is ready in Mayor, it will be imported into CleverWorks. And so there's also a bi-directional interface that's part of this. And so what I mean by that is we are able to give CAT the advanced analytics that they need with Mayor, in the sense that we can take in and do a runtime analysis within Mayor. So basically seeing if there's any slack in the schedule based on the work that was actually performed for when the next schedule, the next pick change or board change, as you call it, that process ends up taking place. And if there's slack, we can cut that down, for example. Also, two other modules that we are proposing are disruption management and VOM. So VOM comes into play, especially with Mayor, and VOM stands for our Vehicle Operator Assignment Modification Module. And it is exactly what it stands for. CAT will have the ability, basically, let's, give an example where, let's say an operator ends up calling out sick, right? You need to reassign that operator to the operator that called out sick, the work that they were supposed to run for that day. With VOM, you will have the ability, CAT will have the ability to go through a drag and drop process and simply reassign that operator. But in the background, Mayor is taking into consideration all of the union rules that exist, and it will make sure that the operator that is being reassigned can actually run that piece of work. With disruption management is will allow CAT to communicate service adjustments and service disruptions in real time out to the riding public, right? So we'll go back to that example. Operator ends up calling out sick, right? Let's say you don't have another operator to reassign that work to, right? Instead, let's say you want to cancel their work for the day. With disruption management, CAT will have that ability, and they will be able to communicate that out through service bulletins to CAT Tracker and to the riding public in real time. Also with disruption management are service day changes. So perfect example, I know CAT unfortunately got hit by a couple of hurricanes in Debbie and Helene, and Milton is also right around the corner as well. And I know that, and I'm also being affected by Milton right now as well, being in South Florida. But with disruption management, you'd be able to do a service day change. And so let's say you wanted to cancel service for Thursday or turn Thursday service into Sunday service in order to help out with, a lower ridership demand for that day. You'll have the ability to do that through disruption management. Now, if there's construction that takes place along a route segment, and let's say that construction is supposed to take place for a month, for example, we can create detours within disruption management, and we can cancel the stops that were part of that route segment. And we can also add in some ad hoc or temporary stops to that as well. And with Clever Devices and what we are proposing, everything is simplified and has a very tight integration. That's because everything, all of our products are really talking to each other. And so before I get into the next module that I'm proposing here, which is Clever Insights, which is Clever Devices NTD reporting solution. One thing that I would like to highlight on the screen is the CAT onboard box. And what you will notice if you're looking at this here is there is a router that we provide by Clever Devices, and we have our IVAN 5, and the IVAN 5 in layman's terms is the computer on board the bus. The NTD reporting vendor also has a router, and they have their own computer that's labeled as the vendor control, the NTD vendor controller here as well. Now, you may be asking yourselves, like, why is there this redundancy in hardware? Do we need it? And to answer that is no, you do not need it whatsoever. With the Ivan on board, we have the ability to connect to APC sensors. And so that is exactly what we are proposing here. Going with the latest and greatest technology in Iris APC sensors. And as Mark alluded to, those are infrared APC sensors that really allow for the better passenger counts, as it's not using a camera system. And that way, light isn't blinding those APC sensors, which, the current APC sensors might end up being prone to. But with Clever Insights, we can also make sure that CAT gets the government funding that it's entitled to, considering that we also have a manual checker app. And so we can actually count and verify that these automatic passenger counters are working correctly. But on top of that, we have this tight-knit integration with the rest of our products. And so, as I alluded to in disruption management, let's say you were to create that detour and add in some ad hoc stops. With Clever Insights, we have the ability to account for those ad hoc stops and associate those boardings and alightings with it. Now, if I go back here just for a second, what you'll notice is if you were to add disruption management without Clever Insights and keep the current NTD vendor, what would end up happening in a situation such as that is that the NTD vendor, for any ad hoc stops in the system, would discard those boardings and alightings completely. Whereas with Clever Insights, we're making sure that that actually ends up getting counted for NTD purposes. And so really, with a simplified, fully integrated and modular technology investment, we will allow CAT to streamline operations, saving the workforce time through automation and improving efficiency. And so the process that's currently in place, that's very time intensive, that will be reduced significantly and allow CAT's workforce to get to other tasks, let's say, that they have on their agenda that maybe they haven't been able to because of how long this manual process takes today. When it comes to the cost reductions, as I mentioned, we can eliminate the hardware that's redundant on board. But really what that means is that, when you look at future bus builds and planning for future bus builds, that will lead to an increase in savings. It will also lead to an increase in savings in the sense that you don't have to pay for warranty for that hardware anymore, or any maintenance on it as well. And it really simplifies the maintenance as well. And so, when everything is consolidated, it becomes that much easier to maintain. You're going from 3 contracts down to 1 contract, and you are providing a better integration, enhanced functionality for the workforce and allowing them to get the best user experience while addressing the complex transit problems that do exist on a day-to-day basis and giving them the advanced analytics that they need to better do their jobs. Now, in Mayor and Clever Insights, we are offering that as a SaaS product, so software as a service. And as part of that, we will be upgrading the technology every year and providing training as well. And so something that Mark Gladhill had mentioned previously is that the scheduling vendor that's currently in place hasn't been upgraded since 2018. And with Clever Devices, that's something that you do not have to worry about anymore. And not only, is the workforce being affected by this in a positive way, but there is a positive impact on the passenger experience as well. And I know that CAT will end up seeing a uptick when it comes to rider satisfaction, in the sense that now we can communicate service disruptions with updated predictions in real time, also in multiple languages. And the last thing that I'd like to point out here as far as the benefit is the improved planning and scheduling with Mayor. I know that CAT has some near-term goals as far as being able to plan for commuter services, expanding geographically within the Savannah regional area, and not only expanding service for fixed route, but for ferry as well. And Mayor can help meet all of CAT's goals with the Mayor product suite. And so today I have just a checklist here going through basically all of the benefits and the impacts to CAT. And so I'd like to just leave this up as, we go through a question and answer now. And I just want to say thank you again so much for everybody's time. And if you guys have any questions, myself, Dan, and Mike are on the call to help answer those. Thank you.
Yeah,
Our current scheduling vendor, who is that?
Trek,
And we got those in 2019.
Trek P was last upgraded in 20,
And how much are we spending for it yearly?
105,000.
And who's our NTD vendor?
BPO.
When did we purchase that? When did we purchase that?
Installation of this funding. Of the hardware and software.
And how much are we spending on that every year?
25 is the SaaS solution, and the hardware is kind of obsolete, so. That was a one-time purchase, and we the same.
So do we have to do anything with their router or the controller or the sensors every year?
Just standard upkeep if it fails, if it's not counting correctly. Those types of things that the electronics specs or CAT take care of on a daily basis.
And do we schedule any of that as a line item under maintenance?
There is part of the sales contract is we get one of their technicians here once a year to help us with anything and training of those associates.
That's part of the 25K?
Yes,
No, this will be my question, no additional cost.
that's right.
So you want us to purchase 5 new modules from Clever?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much is each module?
I do not have the breakdown in front of me.
People on the phone, how much is each module?
It ranges in price. The total price will come out to $1.385 million over a 5-year period.
1.385?
That's correct.
I have the quote if you would like now.
Yeah, we gonna need a quote.
Yeah, so as part of, that will be included in the package that you'll get in October. But for the APC, which includes both the hardware and the software, that is $411,773. For the planning software, which is the Mayor, that is $366,200. For the phone, which is the operating system, then $155,250.
155, 250,
And
and the insights.
the insights is included, that's the APC, that's included, that's the software included with that solution, so that's part of the 360. I'm sorry, no, I apologize, that is $213,237.
And the IRS APC?
That is the APC, which is the 364. It may be better, I can maybe get that to print out, yeah.
It's all gonna be a
Yeah.
part of your action items that you'll be getting within the next few days. This is a breaking out into a yearly expense.
There's some one-time expenses and then some.
Okay,
Yeah, and
You need to know that.
this is additional. How much is the renewal on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 modules we already have? The CleverWorks, CleverCAD, DCC, Data Link, Bus Time Cat Tracker, Clever Reports, Clever Matrix, the Candlelight Router, and an IBM.
I'm just not what the year-over-year costs are, that budgeted for.
We need a comparison.
Yeah, because we're talking about adding 1.385 million.
Yeah.
And I've got questions about the total IT picture. So this is Pete's and Parks. When are we gonna get the IT plan that's gonna outline and tell us how all these things stick together, work together, and cost out? Like, we just found out about the devices that need to be upgraded so that they can go into Office 360, into Windows 11. So that's part of hardware. But what about the printers
Those are,
and network? I mean,
It's a lot.
this is pieces and parts. I would like to see the entire plan. And if we can't write the plan, we got consultants in here for everything else. Get one in here to write us a plan and tell us how all of these pieces and parts are going to fit together and how much the total picture for IT is going to cost us. Because this is adding 1.385 mil. On top of what? How much are we adding on top of? So what's the total cost for IT and how'd you get there?
Well, the 1.385 is over a 5-year period of time.
Yes,
If the board remembers, last year, fiscal year 24, we developed a 5-year capital plan so that we could track these upgrades. Yes, there are monthly operating costs, and we will outline the monthly operating costs. We will list out new costs, whether they're one-time capital costs or ongoing monthly costs. We will do that. You'll be getting your action items on time. And within those action items, we will spell out that information. Now, it is my understanding that the IT capital needs beyond 5 years, that is a question mark right now. Once we get these new features, if the board approves us to get these new modules and add-ons, to see if they actually, well, to test them and see if they actually meet the needs of CATs according to the process that we've gone through, the answer is yes. But as CAT changes, as CAT expands, we may require additional upgrades. And we won't know that until we know what that expansion looks like and what needs comes with the expansion. That's the very important piece of a 5-year capital plan. And each year, some in IT stuff, some is a part of operations, some is a part of capital. We are including in that replacement for PCs and workstations, laptops, iPads, all of that, so that we can better financially plan for it. Yes, it is a lot for CAT. And if those board members that have been on CAT board for a long period of time, CAT never really had an IT manager. IT services were managed by the maintenance department and did the best that we could. But as we grow and we learn and we come around the table to understand what the needs are on both the operations and the administration side, we are trying to bring forward those pieces that restores the integrity of our data, wherein we used to report to the FTA. It ensures better communication between the vehicles and the dispatch center. It overall enhances our operations. We'll be able to see when buses are late, when a paratransit customer is not picked up on time. We'll be able to notify them. All of those pieces that makes us a better transportation system to serve our customers better.
Ms. Cutter, for 3 years, I've been asking for an IT plan, a written assessment that goes through and outlines our IT assets, what we budget for, what our software for license, own, subscribe. Initially, I was told I needed to wait until we got an IT manager. Then we got an IT manager. October 2023, I asked for a written IT plan. I don't have one. In January, I sent an email outlining all the areas that I would like to understand so that I can knowledgeably vote for the expense that's coming at us with this IT, and I don't have one. I will not support any expense. Now, the board needs to understand that this is a phased process. And that's why we have the experts here for you to ask any question that you have. They've explained cyber. These new modules, as it relates to tracking bus operations data and all of that kind of information, that's what Clever focuses on. But that's a sales presentation. They in here trying to sell us additional modules. Wait a minute, because that's really not a fair statement. What we asked them to do, this is what our needs are. We need a proposal to meet these needs. I know since I've been here, the data has been questionable. The board has said on many occasions that the data didn't appear to be reliable. And anytime you have a manual process that marries with an IT process is prone to error. We have to start somewhere. Now, we can continue to delay module upgrades, and I'm going to compare it to Munis. When CAT invested in Munis, there are various different modules that comes with Munis. We did not buy every module when CAT, I wasn't here, but when CAT invested in Munis. We still have modules that are part of Munis we're not utilizing, but we make sure that we have, as a part of the contract, money for training X number of times per year. We still have pieces of Munis that we can add to Munis to make our administrative processes more efficient. On the operating side, it's the same thing. And that comes over a period of time. It does not come at one point in time. As you grow, you need more. That's how it works. I know I can't predict what CAT is going to need in terms of IT in the next 10 years. And I'm not the IT expert. And that's why we attempted to bring the IT. Infinity has been with CAT how long? Absolutely. They have been the source when we have problems with whether it's internet or computers not working and all of that. They have been the vendor there that we call upon to get these things fixed. But as we grow and we learn more and we partner and we build relationships, we get better. It's a system of continuous improvement. That's the best I can do to explain it. Now, Mark, he is the IT person that really coordinates these relationships. Remember, we already have some of our buses with Clever components. We are buying new modules to support that system. Clever isn't new to CAT. Infinity is not new to CAT. It's not just a vendor sales pitch. When I sit down and talk with Dr. Manny about the operations need, and I'm questioning those numbers, and when I can't get a good response where I can generate a report and analyze it, I'm very concerned. And if the board decides to delay that, then it's what we get. Well, it's been delayed that we have not received an IT plan. That's been delayed a whole year.
Now, the thing with the IT plan, just as I said, I can't predict 10 years from now.
I'm not asking for 10 years. I never asked for 10 years. We don't even have an IT plan for 1 year out. Nobody's written or communicated a clear plan that outlines what exactly IT is planning to do just for this budget year.
In the budget document, there is phase 1 and phase 2 of IT upgrades. A lot of these components are a part of that, and it's in the budget document within the operating line items and within the capital plan. You know, maybe I'm not sure, or maybe I don't understand what the board is asking, but those components are a part of the budget. They are a part of the 5-year capital plan as well.
I believe we would need data showing how this works. You know, from other agencies that have tried this format. I think that that's what we need as a board, to be more educated on how does this improve our agency versus where we at now.
Well, one thing, where we are now, it requires manual manipulation to move information into trapeze when there's a board change. And anytime you have manual manipulation, you're asking for problems. It increases the risk of error. We have to get data, and you all, you know, I'm not the operations expert here, but every time there's a board change, we have to have data in 1 month in advance. We're out there talking to the public now. There may be changes to the routing or the schedule, and every time there's a change, it's a cost to CAP because it's not efficient. It does not, it's broken systems instead of one good system that feeds into the different components. It's efficiency.
I think that's the data that we need, that's the reason that we need to see what we are losing, where we're losing it, you know, how we lose. In order for us to make a justified decision on moving forward, I know we need to be more innovative. So we just need the information showing us how it works for us.
Next question. I don't disagree with what the direction we're heading. What would have been helpful today, in addition to this presentation, would have had some of the cost associated with what we need. I'd like to have the numbers in front of me when we're getting the presentation. That helps. And then like it's been said, what is existing and what we've got to build on. Because great presentation, but until we know what all this, the bottom line is going to be, but in the future, when we have a presentation, if the cost that's associated with the equipment could be given to us, that would help.
Okay, the purpose of this workshop was for the board to ask questions of the experts that we currently utilize, Clever, Infinity. In the month of October, you're going to see action items related to what the recommendation is for Clever. The purpose of the workshop is to hear exactly what the board is expecting so that they have the information that they need to vote in the October board meeting. That's the purpose of this workshop, to talk about this, to talk about what your expectations are. I'm clear. There'll be a chart that have current monthly recurring costs. There'll be a chart associated with new modules. There'll be a chart that talk about first year capital cost, so that is very clear, very specific. You will have that in the action item that will come before you to vote on for October. In October, we're gonna do Clever. We're gonna bring back in November, Infinity, because we didn't wanna bring too much at one time. I really appreciate the candidness as to what you all expect in the action item so that we can be very accommodating and you all can clearly see of those columns that you have concerns about what the actual costs are.
So let me ask my questions individually. I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, the impression I get here, and what I'm picking up on it today, that this is an informational session
Yes,
that we can get so we can make an informed decision in October.
exactly, and we would need this information in a timely fashion so we can go through it, because we may have to have another session. So we can go through the information given to us.
And to piggyback off what Director Lockett said, the things that I know that I can take away from when we go into the board meeting is we have certain modules that are outdated that must be replaced, not a choice in that matter. We do want to know the cost of it, but those modules have to be replaced. We have a system that we're using that is prone to error because we are marrying manual information into automatic information. So those things, that's just not gonna work. So what we need now is the cost that we're paying now for outdated stuff and wrong information, if I'm sure that's what you're asking, I'm asking if that's what you're needing, along with what the cost will be. Because it's something that we have to do. But that's really a part of the wish list. You know, what I stated doesn't sound like wish. What I stated sounds like 1.385 mil is a wish. Okay, that number may be a wish. I stated two facts. I stated that we have modules that are outdated that have to be replaced. And everybody said, yes, that's the case. Now, if that's not the case, somebody need to tell me. But that's not a wish, that's a fact. Right, it takes money to replace them, but we running a business here.
We still have to know
So,
our avenues.
Yeah,
And we're trying to, that's exactly what we're trying to get the board. And workshop settings for me is to obtain clarity on board expectations so that the staff can go back and write the action item in a manner that's clear to you. That's what this is all about. That's all we're trying to do. We're trying to serve the board and bring back information as they desire. We're going to take your feedback and go back and format the action items to make sure your questions is clear when it comes to money.
So I'm gonna ask the questions individually. Is that good?
Yes.
Okay, so I asked for an IC asset inventory, hardware, laptop servers, desktops, printers, cell phones, phone system, networking equipment, and firewalls. What of those, how many do we have? How many of them are outdated? Tablets, what needs to be replaced? How many are you looking to replace? What part of that budget number for this year is any of those things? I know one printer in this building that most definitely has to be replaced. And it's still not replaced. We still getting bad copies and we've not heard anything about it. Software, how many do we own? How many are licensed? How many do we subscribe to? What part of those costs are a part of that total number? We've got infrastructure requests. We've got all of the cybersecurity. You know, it's what is it that you're looking for? Where you plan to go? How you plan to get there? And where those numbers fall in between.
Ms. Carter.
Better understanding, Director Odell, and we will, I can tell you now, replacement of the copy that's out there was not a request in the FY 25 budget. And that's why we always try to put
But it
contingency money.
should have been.
I-
And had we done an inventory,
We're
we would
not,
have known that.
I get it. But that's why we always have contingency money, because we know things are gonna come up that nobody submitted the request.
I know, but Ms.
With-
Cutter, we as an agency do not do individual department assessments, and that's not your fault. Because you just got into this position, but individual department assessments to determine what we have, what we need, and where we want to go. Determine what a goal is for each department, and let's work toward that goal. Everybody that is a department head should be able to put in writing and communicate effectively what their goal is, and that individual department goal should feed into the agency goal. And it should all tell us how much money that department wants, why they want that money, and what they plan to do with that money. And it's not fair that you have to try to piecemeal that together for your department heads. They are supposed to be subject matter experts. I want a subject matter expert to communicate what they want effectively.
I definitely understand that, Director Adele, and believe me, we are working towards that goal.
Ms. Carter, I need to make a suggestion. I think what's happening here is we're getting a lot of information and no numbers. I think in the future, when you bring stuff to the board, you know how they put it up on the screen, if you have what you want and have a number next to it, I think it would calm some of the, what's going on, because what Director Odell is asking for and what everybody is asking for is just numbers to go along with what you want. That way, in a meeting, in a setting like this, we can take it back, and by the time it's time for the board meeting, now we're ready to vote, instead of going home and then waiting on it. When you present it, you put what you want, put the costs, just like a spreadsheet. Put what you want, put the costs. And I think that would satisfy everyone in the room.
I understand that, but I want the board to understand this was an information systems session. The board may say, no, we don't want to do this part. These are recommendations that are coming from staff. You're going to get all of the information that you are asking for. Now, everything that you've seen here is a part of the fiscal year 25 budget, whether it's operating or it's capital. All of it is there. We've talked about a lot of it during a budget workshop. We're going to break it down and give you a chart within the action item that's going to be coming before you in the next few days. Board meeting is on the 22nd. You're going to have, a couple of weeks to absorb it. And the reasoning for this session was really to allow the experts to go over how the different modules connects and the value, whether it's Clever or someone else, we're going to have it. But trying to articulate the importance of having a system that addresses your need. We're not going to do everything in FY 25. I can tell you that right now.
Right, and that's why I said it's easier if
Yes,
you're
sir.
extracted. When we come to a meeting like this, and you say it's for information, the finance part
is part of the information that we're looking for, not just the verbal, not just the presentation, because it's easier if we have it now, and then we go back, we have 2 weeks rather than come back later.
Well,
Because you were saying this was an information.
yes, because the board had questions. The board had questions about the IT components. If you all remember, during budget workshops, it was 1.4 some odd million dollars budgeted within one division. The board talked about that's significant. It was all outlined, we discussed it, it was taken out of that line item. A large majority of it was put into contingency. Some of it is in Department 16, which is CAO. And we talked about these things. My understanding, because the numbers were there, the board wanted clear understanding what those numbers represented. That's why I say what I say. Now that we're ready to bring the action items forward, we'll be able to show some of Infinity's costs is in the operating budget, $400 and some odd $1,000. Most of that is monthly and backup and server maintenance and all of that kind of stuff. So we're gonna pull those line items and we're gonna itemize and bring it to you as it relates to what we are recommending now. Everything that's in the capital plan doesn't happen in 25. Some will happen in 26, some will happen in 27, and every year that capital plan may change. And as a part of the budget process, we will talk about what those numbers represent. And believe it or not, the more we get together and talk about the expectations of this board, the better guidance this board gives the staff as to what they want when we come before you. This is good for me. It's not necessarily easy, and sometimes it's kind of hard to hear. But really, it's inspiring because we are learning each other. Learning what your expectations are in an attempt to get better.
The only thing I'm asking is, if someone's gonna give us a presentation,
Notated.
have the numbers up there, then that way we can ask questions right then instead of waiting until board time to ask questions. If they give them a presentation and the numbers are up there, we can say, wow, why is it so much? And then they can tell us.
And she just agreed to that.
Instead of waiting until
I understand.
3 weeks down the road, then we gotta come in here and say the same thing, when they can just give it to us right then.
And it was a part of the budget process discussions.
I understand what you're saying, but if they're gonna give a presentation, extract it
Yes,
and
sir.
put the numbers up there, and then that way we can have a in-depth conversation now instead of waiting until board time to have a conversation about something that we could have settled today.
I think that is as simple as, in order for us to be a great organization moving forward. And we gotta have, in order for us to make great decisions as a board, we need great information. And as long as we work in tune with each other on that, our questions being answered, and we in good shape. And so,
And I'm
I
committed
just
to
got
that.
2 quick questions. When will you start working on your call flows? Because you'll outline those before you go with next FEMA or, okay, and they don't have text to voice. So will you use a voiceover company to do the voice messages, the greetings, or you have somebody that does that?
That will be up to you guys. For the county, we can use a third party, we can use on this, that's just details, whatever works best for your city. Some companies like how they customize those specific voices or specific tones of voice,
Right.
we can
So that is clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, they just don't have, where you can type in the text and they have the computer that does.
They have it, we don't recommend it for a business.
No, Nextiva doesn't have it anymore. I use them for my call center. They don't have it. Mm-mm. I know, you would have thought, but no. Cause I used a third party to record them. They have someone that they refer you to, I think it's called Snap. Or something, Snap Voice or something like that.
We have any more questions or comments?
No.
There we come.
Well,
Right. You have anything else? to discuss?
no, I think we're.
It was a very good presentation.
Yeah.
Thank
Hey, Mom, are you done?
Yes, ma'am.
you.
And if you all go back and think of any other question you may have as it relates to Infinity or Clever, just please send it in and we'll make sure that we share them and get that information back to you.
Good enough. Thank you. Good, man. All right.
Now, just let me, under section 4, you have all of the action items that will be coming forward for our October 22nd meeting. And with that, all of the itemized costs will be a part of the action item.
Good. All right, yes, we have next regular meeting, board of directors, October 22nd. We should get a lot accomplished at that meeting.
Quickly.
Get ready to provide. But this time I'd like to adjourn the meeting. Thank you.